to their eyes when the rain starts pouring down. Revolution's such a lovely sound. I can see the shutters are closing in, and there's blood in the water now. So what you fighting for? This is when we draw the line. This is when we draw the line. I hear your battle cry. I hear your battle cry. Let me hear your battle cry.
Oh, hi everyone, and welcome into Behind the Helm. If you want to watch this show live, tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Make sure to leave a comment down below, and we'll respond live. As always, find it, like it, share it, follow it. But if you want to watch the show after the fact, head on over to YouTube or on Facebook, where the shows are cataloged, and you can see all the comments and notes and still watch the show and any bonus content. If you just want to listen to the show, head on over to Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible, wherever you can find a podcast, and just search up Behind the Helm. Enjoy the show. Episode number 6. That's right, episode number 6. I know it's been a minute. Sorry about the last few weeks with Christmas time and the end of the year. Had some things change with some travel. And then last week, I had a major technical difficulty, but luckily, my tech specialist, Petty Officer Levesque, was there for me, and we got it fixed, so no harm, no foul. Now, as it said in the description, this is pre-recorded because it is not Thursday. It is currently Sunday. And it's currently Sunday because I've got some stuff going on this week that is going to interfere with Thursday a bit to do it live. And we have a special guest today. And the reason we have a special guest is because we haven't been able to link up. We've been trying to, but unfortunately, it doesn't work out because of a time difference. So we have a very special treat for you today on episode number 6. We've been talking about moving. We've been talking about that type of stuff. Like we've been talking about CONUS, and we're going to get into OCONUS and making a claim. And I did finally close mine out, but we'll save that for next week because I want to go ahead and introduce our guest, which I think you guys will know. And we're going to talk about some stuff. So without further ado, finally back, we have the one, the only, the infamous Petty Officer Levesque.
Infamous is crazy. Yeah, crazy. Infamous. But that's fine.
Why do you say it's crazy?
I'll take any title.
Yeah, straight up. So what's going on, man? How have you been?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Been busy.
Been working out?
Busy. No, just standing watch in an engine room.
Yeah, looking good, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Lost some weight. Lost that sitting behind a windshield weight from recruiting, right?
Yeah.
So the last time you were on the show, you were out in California, which you still are. We talked about, you went to school and everything. And if you've, which I know, of course, obviously, you've watched the last few episodes. We've talked about moving, and I talked about my experience with the CONUS move. We kind of talked about yours a bit, but we more talked about housing.
Yeah.
Just real quick, because you're out in California, moving from Indiana to California, do you have any like major tips or things to think about when it comes to, let's say, a CONUS move within the U.S. that maybe you wish you would have done or you found out about later, like this would have made it easier, just to add to what we've been talking about the last few weeks?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like we planned it really well, and I think that's all I would say is like make sure you're planning it
Yeah, be on top
prior
of
to
it, right?
be on top of it because I feel like a lot of people would just choose, oh, I'm just gonna get flown out to wherever and they can just move my stuff. But the way that, especially if you have a family, like the fact that we were able to drive across country, they paid for all the gas, they paid for all the hotels, they paid for all the food, and then on top of that, I still made like $2,500. That if I had just done, hey, we're all just gonna take a flight, and you know, it was lucrative, and that's you would think like, oh, they're paying for all this stuff. How could it be lucrative? Well, it was. So,
Yeah, and
um,
it's one of those things, and because we had talked about the different types of moves, you have your HHG and your PPM, and you did an HHG, you did a household goods move. You didn't move anything yourself, neither did I, and I didn't realize it either, and I didn't really talk about it because it just came through too, because they do give you per diem per day for food based on, you and your number of dependents, as well as mileage, as well as this. And it was a lot more than I expected. So
yeah,
realistically, like as long as you plan, I mean, it can be lucrative, 100%. I think so.
yeah,
And I mean, we only moved for us. It's a day drive. It should be two, but we do it in a day. Like for you, obviously, it was a little different. And we talked about that a little bit. I think last time you were on the show, you guys made sure to. You could have drove like straight through, but you guys kind of changed the way that you did it because you kind of made it into like a little vacation, little road trip, like with the kids and stuff. I know you talked about it. You went to a Nuggets game in Denver and, those type of things. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, I think that's the best advice. And out of everything, because you can look everything up, but I still show it on the show, definitely plan, right? As soon as
yeah.
you
Because
can, as soon as you get it in those orders, as soon as you can do that stuff, start the planning, right? That's huge.
it's like I don't know. No one's just gonna like tell you like maybe in like the beginning of your career there'll be a little bit of people like holding your hand in certain things, but I don't know what it is about checking out and PCSing where I don't know. It seems like if you're not trying to look things up or like be proactive or think about questions that not everyone's giving you answers to, like they kind of like sometimes you just kind of get left behind on that.
Yeah, and I think that's the main reason. Like, I kind of wanted to do this season, especially like with once we do the Oconus move, because like I've never done it, and a lot of times like there's information out there, but it's not, you don't even know that you need to know it, and that can be tough. So again, we're here on episode 6, pre-record. I know you're watching on Thursday. It's not live, so if you're putting comments, we'll see them later. But absolutely, if you have any questions for Petty Officer Levesque, or myself about anything that we go over, please go ahead and comment. Make sure you smash that like button, share this feed. It's going to be a good talk, good show. I'm excited to finally have you back on the show. It's been very hard for us to link up. You can see I'm in my Bears regalia. It's a nice word, right? Regalia. Because obviously we play Green Bay today. Everybody knows that my wife is a Green Bay fan, and I'm hoping to crush her hopes and dreams. Because the Bears, I mean, they lost contention last week. However, we can ruin the Packers' opportunity for wild card if we beat them today. So
Packers win. Is it Packers win then in?
I believe so. Yeah, if they win, I don't remember if there's another stipulation, but if they win, they have an opportunity, or they do get the wild card. But I know for a fact if we beat them, they're done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all right, so A couple things to put out real quick. Number one, we're going to talk about some stuff. Obviously, we are both still active Navy, so anything that we talk about is our opinion and ours alone. And from our experience, it has nothing to do with the views of the Navy or our respective commands. It is ours and ours alone. With that being said, let's get into a few things. So, you're still out in California. You're on the ship. When we talked to you before, you had just got there. You originally were on a carrier, and you moved to a cruiser, which is what we consider in the Navy small boys. You got your destroyers and your cruisers. I've been on a destroyer. I haven't been on a cruiser. Cruiser's a little bit bigger than a destroyer, a little different, but for the most part, it's the same. However, as an engineer, me and you've talked, and it's been really different for you because it's less engineers. You have to know kind of more. You're kind of more of a jack of all trades type thing instead of, hey, this specific thing. Now that you've been there for a while, right? Because you've been out there over a year now.
Yeah, it'll be a year in February. I'll be there.
Okay, so how have your thoughts changed on cruiser life compared to carrier life? Has it changed, or what's being somebody who's been on both? Now, granted, you're a little bit more of an advanced sailor now, but now being on both, I mean, what's your opinion between the two? Pros, cons.
So we'll start. I'll start with cons. So cons would definitely be like more watch. It's a lot more watch.
Now if you're going to give cons on the cruiser, you got to make sure that you give cons on the carrier too.
Yeah. So cons with the cruiser, right? More watch, which I guess I didn't really, I didn't really account for that, but it's okay because like it's just what we have to do. I mean, there's a little less personal space. I feel like, you're really
you can't really get away.
You can't get away. You're in the mess decks. You hear people talking about people, and you know who everyone is. So it's a little weird. Like people will just be like openly talking about somebody who's literally like sitting right there.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
dude, small boys are 100% high school. 100%.
Like the guy who I turned over with, like I'd be talking about somebody, be like, "Hey man, you gotta, people will hear what you're saying and start." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, like everyone knows everyone here." I'm like, "Oh shoot, all right." And then I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of work. So it's a lot more, physically demanding, I would say.
Do you think
But I don't,
you can see
I don't
that as a
mind
con, but do you see that kind of, I kind of see both sides of that, right? Like it's a con because like, hey, you have to work more per se, but it's almost like a pro because if you're a driven person, I feel like it gives you an opportunity to learn more because and what he's talking about with watch, right? We're talking about like when you're in port, and just it's doing your job, but like you are not doing like maintenance. Like you have to do this specific. It's it's kind of hard to explain. We've talked about it before.
So there's spaces that need to be manned 24/7.
Right, especially engineering. Yeah.
In there, monitoring stuff, taking readings, like that needs to happen 24/7. In port, there's different sections, so that way, it all gets broken up. I stand watch pretty much every 5 days in port, but when you're underway,
That's just part of the day.
Yeah, so like I literally have been standing 8 hours of watch every day when we're underway.
So when you're and just so everybody understands like what he's talking about, like in port, we don't just like close the door and lock it up, right? Like so especially the engineering spaces, like it's constantly there's stuff running. So when you are on duty in port, you're going to have your normal work day and you're going to stay on the ship overnight so that there are people there if there's, just if something were to happen. And then, you sleep, you get up, you go into the next work day, and then you would go home that evening. Underway, obviously, everybody's there anyway, and you have just a watch rotation, which is doing your job. So, I'm just saying, like, I could see a pro and a con. It depends on the person, right?
kind of crazy because like when you're underway, I feel like I'm just being honest, I feel like I spend more time in the engine room. Like,
Yeah.
well, I go to main engine room once so much that I'm like, this almost feels like because you get off watch and then you have to prioritize. That's another thing I guess that's different too, is like you really have to prioritize your day. Like you get off watch, what do you want to do? Do you want to work on a qual? Do you have corrective maintenance to do? Do you have PMS that you need to do?
Do you want
Do you
to
have
take,
stuff
do you have
that you want to do?
personal
Is
stuff
there
like classes? Are you
or
working on classes or, stuff like that? Yeah.
like sometimes there's sacrifices to be made because you know I don't know, like thinking about me going on the deployment and stuff, it's like I have to think about, all right, how am I going to maximize this? Like, where do I want most of my energy going? And you got to kind of break it up because if not, like your day could just turn into watch, sleep, and like
Yeah, you can easily get lost in that.
you can get
100%.
lost in that and letting that be the only thing, but you don't have to do that. Like, you could be like, oh, like for an hour, I'm going to go UI this other watch, or for an hour I'm gonna study, or hey, right when I get off watch, I'm gonna go work out, eat, and then I'll get rest, and you know, like
And we
you gotta
talked
make the
about that
most.
as recruiters too. Like we really did, or I know I did, is if you get stuck in that rotation where you're just like, I stand watch and I sleep and I stand watch and I sleep and that's all I do. Okay, I mean, you're getting paid very good money to do that, plus benefits,
Yeah,
right? It can be, I mean, if that's all you do, I mean, you're still getting all these benefits plus getting paid, right?
yeah,
So it's still worth it. But what you're talking about is if you motivate yourself and you prioritize, because you have to, nobody's going to hold your hand to do it. You
no,
can really take advantage of a lot of stuff. And I totally agree with your one con slash, you know, it is a smaller community. So everybody knows everyone. And I remember telling somebody, like, when I was on the destroyer, like the captain, like as a third class, the captain knew me by name, right? Like he would see you, knew who you were. There's not really an opportunity to hide. But it also makes it easy to stand out. Whereas me and you had talked, like on a carrier, it's very easy to, like, you can just, you can what we call skating. You can just skate right through, man. Like you don't, but it's harder to stand out. So what
yeah,
what would you say if those are your cons? Oh, go ahead.
yeah. So for like one of the pros, definitely is being able to stand out. Like, all right, I'm a second class in the Navy, so normally on a carrier, like that would just be like work center supervisor. Like maybe you may not
Maybe.
even be
Yeah.
supervisor at that point. But for me, on the opportunity that I have on this ship is like I've been able to be an LPO, like lead the whole division as a second class because we're gapped a first class. So I've done that. I already gotten a NAM for um, fixing our HRS, which is like this little bar that tells you the reference for the pilot when the helo wants to land. It knows
Right.
the list or whatever, and pitch and roll and all that.
Y'all.
So yeah, and like I'm gonna get a good eval. Like my hard work is like noticed, and I feel like I'm just doing what I've always done, and like there's just more like appreciation for it. Like there's more to be done, like but like it gets noticed, and like people actually understand what it takes to do some of the stuff that we do.
I think it gets noticed on a different level too, right? So, from a chief standpoint, when it goes into eval rankings, like you're going to fight for your people, and it's a lot easier to fight for your people when other people know who that is, right?
Yes.
If I'm
Yep.
saying, hey, this, sailor, my sailor is a hard worker, and other chiefs in the mess know who that is, and are like, yeah, he is a hard worker. You know what I'm saying? Compared to like, hey, my sailor's a hard worker. Well, you better fight harder because I don't even know who your sailor is. You know what I'm saying? So there's upsides and downsides to all of it. Now, now that you've kind of seen both, what about cons on the other side, big deck side?
Yeah, con definitely is like standing out, like we were just talking about. I would say probably that sense of like community. Like there's really only pride within your division. Like even just your work center, because like it's times like I'd never seen people in Power Shop, like, and it was kind of like us against Power Shop. Like I don't know, on this ship, it's like we're all like together.
Engineering, it's the ship.
Especially with
Yeah.
MP, like when MP has something going on, because they're the ones who are making the ship move. Like they're working on the generators and the actual engines and MRG. Like it's all hands effort with engineering to like work together to get those problems solved. And like we're looking out for each other and not just like, well, I'm getting off early, so see you guys later. Like,
Yeah, it's not like that's no longer my problem. Yeah.
like, oh, we need an HT to come help us. They're like helping us immediately.
Yeah.
You
You're
know,
not
it's like
calling around begging, bartering, you know.
yeah, we're all in this together. So, and I would probably say, oh my gosh, just the distance where you gotta go to things on the carrier. It's kind of like
Yeah.
I'm working up forward, and then I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
I forgot.
You better not
forgot
forget
this
a tool or something, right?
all the way back aft to go get the tool. And it's gonna take you about 10 minutes just to walk there, grab what you need, and walk back. Like on this ship, like, am I getting used to it? So it kind of feels annoying, yeah. But in the
Sure.
grand scheme of it, it's not hard to get from all the way forward to all the way aft. Like, it's not hard at all.
I mean, I would say like we're talking about standing out, like the number of people when I've had to be on the small boy, like on a pier with a carrier. You have to, I mean, the number of people in general. So getting
Yeah.
on and off the ship when everybody's getting on and off, parking,
Oh
stuff
yeah,
like that,
that
like
was
that
that
is a
was
con.
that is, yep.
The carrier's pulling into port. You're not. We don't have room. You can set out here. You know what I mean? Like, so, but what about other pros that you
Pros,
between the two?
I would say the, I mean, the workload is a little bit easier. You get to specify in something, so you really get to go in depth on certain equipment. Um,
You come in, you know what your job is that day, kind of
there's
like it's
there's more there's more people, so there's less of that chance of you not meshing with somebody. Like I don't
right.
know, like um, there was like 80 EMs, so 10% of that, I mean, I got 8 best friends. You know,
Yeah,
if it was like that in my shop right now, that's not, we wouldn't even make a person at 10%. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. And I mean, I'll be
but,
honest. Like on my first ship,
but
I when
luckily,
my
like
work center
my shop is awesome. So like
now, or are you talking about on the carrier?
right now,
Yeah,
it's so good. They're just really down to earth. They get it. We all trust each other. We're not too stuck up in things or
yeah. That's big. I mean, in my work center on the destroyer, you're talking a work center of 5, 6 people, right? And
yeah,
I mean, there were differences throughout rotations. There were a few people in my work center that, dude, I couldn't stand. I mean, I trusted them that they would do the job, so
yeah,
there was that, but like it's a bummer. It kind of sucks when you only have 5, 6 people and you don't get along with them. So it's good that you have that. That's
like,
good.
man, I'm glad I don't have that guy in my division. He was like, when are you gonna talk to them about that? Do I need to talk to them about that? I'm like, no, no, you don't. No, that's my job now, which
Yeah.
is something I've been adjusting
So
to.
that's a
But
chief thing. You need me to do it. And
like, no,
we'll
because that is the
that's
last.
back.
You know what's so funny is like, she is like so helpful and like very knowledgeable, and she's always out there working on stuff. But there's like certain things where I know, like, I cannot let Chief do that.
Yep. Yep.
Like, and I feel like it's almost a test in a way. I'm like, no, she cannot do that.
It probably is in some, and in other parts,
So she's
sometimes
just
you
trying
get
to
those
help out.
leaders that they're trying to help out or they're kind of micromanaging, and you have to be able to say like, hey,
Yeah.
stay in your swim lane. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And I wouldn't say like she's like micromanaging. It's like she'll be like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll order these parts." I'm like, "No, like that's not that's our job. Like I get you're helping, but like we need to understand that we need to run as a team here. We don't need
mm-hmm.
to have you doing all these things that we're supposed to be doing." So,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah, it's been like and getting ready to go on deployment and everything. So
yeah. So
just
let's
very soon.
talk about that. So again, we're on episode 6. We're sitting with the infamous Petty Officer Levesque, who finally got back again. It's Sunday. It's not Thursday, but you're seeing this on Thursday. We had to pre-record it just because of time differences. So we talked about move a little bit. And I think you gave the best advice there. We talked about what you've been up to as far as, and then the difference between the carrier and the cruiser. Now, you have a deployment coming up. We're not giving away anything OPSEC. Everybody knows that people go on deployment. We're not giving specific dates or locations or anything like that. But you only really got to do one deployment on the carrier. It was a little shorter, but I mean, it was a cool one because you guys went from San Diego down around the Horn and up to Norfolk. So that's pretty awesome to be able to do that. I mean, there are probably people who did their entire career, never got an opportunity like that, but it was also shorter. It was like 3 months.
Yep.
Now you're getting ready and you're gearing up for a deployment on the cruiser,
Yep.
and that's coming up pretty soon. What have you noticed difference-wise in that? Like just even preparation for that. Is there a big difference, or is it deployment with the Navy? Like, how are you prepping for that? What are you seeing? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more prep to it. I mean, even just like being involved in like the workup aspect of it, doing all these qualifications, like getting the ship ready. And I think I'm glad that I had that experience on the carrier actually like go around the Horn. So I had a lot of mistakes, like as far as like not being as prepared, carrying around my wallet and losing it. Like just like little things like I don't know, like making sure I'm stocking up on stuff, knowing like we're gonna need some sort of entertainment, like um so just like the pride in the equipment, like being like having that ownership, and, like we don't want to be the reasons why like people aren't you're not gonna have tech assist coming on board to help fix a lot of these things. You know what I mean? Like it's like we have to be ready to go or damage control stuff. Like we're prepped and ready to do it. Like that's how it feels now. I wouldn't say that when I first got there. A lot of these guys were in the yards the whole time and never really went out to sea. But after this whole year, it's like the growth of like what we all know and what we all can do is it's kind of crazy to see.
And over the last year, you've got an opportunity to go underway a few times on the cruiser.
Yep.
What are the big differences, and from how things operate, just in general? What are the big differences? Just being underway, being out to sea with the carrier compared to a small boy that you've seen or react to. I mean, even like the movement of the ship, like on a carrier, do you even really notice?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's way different. It is way different. Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, "This is crazy how much it's moving," but now it's like, okay, we're just, we hear, you know, um, stand by while the ship stand. What is it? What do they say?
Stand
Stand
by
by.
as the ship comes about.
Heavy rolls as the ship comes about.
That's
And
what it
I
is.
was like, what does that mean? They're like, oh, just look out for everything,
Yeah,
like in the show.
you're about to find out if you're actually secure for sea or not.
It's
Is what that
crazy
is.
when you're in the engine room. You know what's crazy is when they do a full speed run, like it's like so scary down there. It gets so loud. You see the RPMs start going up and the knots, and we're like, oh man, we're at flank 3 right now. This is crazy. Um,
Shakes. I mean, when we went through the BAM years ago, we went through like full full bore go, and like on a destroyer, and the whole ship like shudders. Like it's,
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
it's wild.
you go really fast. And um, the flight quarters thing is weird because like on a carrier, there's
That's like
a
the whole
whole
point of the carrier,
yeah,
right?
for the flight stuff. But on here, and this is what oh man, is this family friendly still? Is that
For the most part, yeah, I try to stay family friendly. It's crazy.
it's like we have all these engineers up there standing flight quarters like damage control, like they're part of the
Yeah,
flight deck crew
smash and
or the
crash, and
5, and they're taking all these people away from being able to stay on watch. We're
they're
talking,
up there and they do nothing.
yeah,
Well,
they
I
do.
mean, I mean, okay, you would want them there if something happened.
Yeah,
Don't
of
get me
course.
wrong. Like it has a purpose, but most of the time, and I'm not discounting anybody who does it or anything like that, but
Yeah,
most of the time, what you see is them laying in their, um, you know, uh, cover all like all their stuff, and they're just sleeping, like because there's
yeah,
nothing for them to do. They're just there.
their long ear headphones and their camping chairs, and they're just I'm like I got to stand an extra how many hours of watch so that they can do this. It's just to me, it's just I didn't think of the fact that there wasn't really like a dedicated flight crew. Like there is no flight crew. Like ship's force is the flight crew. The
Yep.
only people they have really are like um, the actual people who work on the helos and like maybe some handlers, like maybe like 4 handlers. I don't know. Like there's not that many air people that come on board. And
No,
I'm like,
not really at
I
all.
just
Most of the time,
make
if
it.
because they're doing touch and goes, they're not really necessarily staying. And if they do, like they tend to bring their own people. It's not, yeah. I mean, you just don't,
Oh yeah, they're
you don't
staying
have
the
it.
whole deployment. Yeah, we got this.
We didn't have the hangar to put them in, so
Yeah, you fit 2 birds in the kilo hanger.
yeah.
So
So got some differences there. We'll definitely try to catch you when you get back and see how it went. Talk about where you went. Make sure you try your best to get like a bunch of. I know. So just to put this out, we're on episode 6. We're talking to Petty Officer Levesque. Where I know that you've got some stuff going on, man. Like, where can people maybe find you outside of Facebook or whatever? Like, I think you got a TikTok right now, right? Saw a
yeah,
little golf video. You've been getting pretty serious in the golf thing recently. Doing pretty. I mean, we were playing, and before you left, you started to really kind of get into it. Now, obviously, you're in California, where you pretty much golf year round, and you've been
yep.
golfing a lot, especially when you're in school. So where can people find you? Maybe see your videos that you've been putting up for golf, where you block the shot and then pretend that it was really close.
Yeah, yeah. You just got a little Vec 94. Yeah, that's my TikTok. Also my
Lil Vec, LIL.
L Vec. That's my rapper name as well. I don't know if I ever said that like the whole time that we were on this podcast that I'm a rapper,
No,
but
I think I tried to bring it up once, and you told me I wasn't allowed to.
yeah, well, things are different now.
LILVEK, right?
BECK.
VECK.
Yep, 94.
94. If you wanna check out his TikTok, he's been doing a lot with golf. And so
Well, I have one golf video, but there's gonna be more on this when I go into
something you're starting to get into, and we were talking about it. Obviously you're on the West Coast, so we're talking, any deployment West Coast. Obviously you're going over, in the Pacific and Asia and like that type of area, and we were talking about there's a lot of amazing golf courses out there, and you're going to try on deployment to maybe hit a few of those. So it'd be cool to hear about that and see that and watch that journey, and be kind of really interesting. So I know you're excited about that. So again, Lil Vec 94 on TikTok if you want to check out his stuff. LILVECK 94. So all right, let's talk about the bear in the room to kind of wrap this up, because we've talked about it. I know people have talked to us about it. and obviously, we've talked about it a lot. So again, I want to express that this is our personal opinion, not the Navy's or our current commands. So kind of caught up with you, what you've been up to, talked about moving. We talked about, the pros and cons between the two different platforms. Now that you've kind of been on both for a while, got upcoming deployment. I know before we get into, I want to talk about recruiting. We're going to talk about our experiences now, and how we feel about it. But before we do that, as far as the deployment, like how are you feeling about it? How's the family feeling about it? Are you apprehensive? Are you excited? Because it's been a while. And like we said, the one deployment you went on was short. Now you've had some underways, though. You've got to go underway so you kind of know how it works. How's the family feeling? How are you feeling about it in general?
Yeah, I mean, like, we know it's got to happen, and I feel like we've talked about it a lot, just like expectations and setting stuff up, and you know, um, and we're sad, and it sucks because like when I went on my first deployment, like I didn't have kids, and we weren't me and Danielle weren't living together at the time, so
Yeah,
it was a
your
lot
boy,
different.
your boy wasn't even born yet because he was born when you came recruiting. He was born in Indiana.
Yeah, Emma wasn't born either.
Yeah,
Like
so
I went. It was like September of 15 to December of 15, and then I did like almost 200 days of underways in 2016.
mhm.
So we just weren't living together at the time. She was still going to Ball State, so um, it's a lot different now.
And they're
A lot,
older, so they'll
yeah.
kind of know what's
Especially
going on.
like
Yeah,
gets it. I feel like so I've had to have a lot of talks with her. It's just like making sure that you don't get too lost in what you're doing and making sure that you're checking in on them and being available for them as much as you can. Like,
yeah. I mean,
but I think we're
Logan
good.
was the
I think
same way,
we're good.
right? Like I came off. By the time I got off sea duty the first time, I mean, he was still less than 2 years old. Like he doesn't remember that. But
Yeah,
your kids are older now. Like they see that and like what's going on. So that I mean, that is a tough part of it. One of the big tough parts of it, even with just like little underways, even a week or 2 week underway, it can be tough on the family.
so, but just letting them know that there's going to be ways we can communicate. And when I do have that time where I have like cell phone service and sure that I'm
Cell
checking in
phone
on them.
service when you pull into ports, going. I mean, there's Wi-Fi everywhere.
Yeah,
Having a
they'll
little bit
call
more computer access and phone access on the ship, with it being a smaller ship, is a little easier. So you know, it doesn't always work the greatest. Emails are
Starlink
always
on
good.
there.
Say again.
They're talking about putting Starlink on there, which is that
Um,
thing they have on
we'll
the
see.
carrier where, because I have my buddy who literally can just Snapchat me when he's on the ship. He's on deployment right now. It's insane.
That's I will tell you some of the classes I've gone through recently that I don't think they're going to, because it's the cyber problems that the world has to
Yeah,
allow. Just it's another conversation. Like, hey, I'm on Snapchat in the middle of the Atlantic. Here are our coordinates. Like it's not a good
yeah, yeah.
idea, but to each their own. I mean, it'd be cool, but I don't think that it'll ever get approved like Navy wide. So
Yeah. I wonder if they only do it where it's like designated times and where you're at.
maybe that's
It
possible
doesn't
too.
matter. Like OPSEC doesn't matter at that point because like it's well known of where you're at.
Yeah, it's
I don't
already been
remember.
announced, and like you can go out
Yeah.
and get on a phone anyway or
Not like
whatever.
when they light they like the cell phone lamp. We're able to go out there and use our phones. It's probably like I imagine it's probably I haven't asked them, but maybe it's like that. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll be looking out for you, and all will go well. So,
yeah,
um, so recruiting, man. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So I did it for 5 years, actually a little over.
Wow, that's,
Yeah.
that's so funny. It's like I did it for 5 years.
Well, and the difference is, I think, and we've talked about this, is I came in late 2018, like August 2018, end of August.
Yeah.
And I'll openly say I thought it was something I was going to enjoy. And the first few months of recruiting, I absolutely loathed it, hated it, decided I was switching to blended retirement because I had to by December, and I was getting out, and this was miserable. And after this tour was over, I was done.
Yeah.
It took a couple months, and then 2019 went really, really well, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I loved it. I had a great time. You came in April of 2020, right?
Yeah. March, April. Yeah.
Like end of March, beginning of April. So just as everything shut down and we were in rural Indiana recruiting. So yeah, hey, I mean, I want you to be honest while still being family friendly, but what was your take, man? Like what you got?
Man. Oh, someone's trying to call me. Hold
While you're looking at that, I mean, I will say, so I was there. I was then by myself for a little bit. Petty Officer Levesque came in, and like, you know us as the duo from this, and this show was Petty Officer Levesque's brainchild, and we started doing it kind of during the COVID time, just one, because we wanted to do something to get some information out to help with recruiting, and two, like, we enjoy it. We enjoy doing it. And just another thing to do because it was bad. I mean, like, we couldn't do or go anywhere. And, you know, honestly, it was something that we did once a week that we actually kind of looked forward to. Like, because I'll be honest, as somebody who really enjoyed recruiting in 2019, it got to a point where there was no joy coming into work anymore.
Yeah, and anything. Like, all right, so I'm not like, I feel like I've had time to like cool down about it because
Yeah.
when I left, I was just like so miserable at that point. Like I was ready to go. And I think my situation was different because I went there as a third, made second right when I got there, was not expecting that. And
Not from recruiting either. He made it on his own accord. It
And then
wasn't because he was recruiting.
got the old P eval, which I mean that's fine because it's a welcome aboard thing. But like I put the 6-shooter in, like I was one of the better recruiters in the area. I feel like at the time, like I was definitely like kind of rising up, and then was doing the career counseling thing. Like I felt like in that first like 6 months of me being there, I did a lot, but that does not mean you're gonna get higher than a P. Like that's just
You
how
achieved, so in your first like 6 months, you achieved things, even though like the year before, out of Rule Anderson, I was like the 4th in the entire command. You achieved things in that 6 months that I had never achieved and didn't in the entire 5 years I was there. And I will tell you now, I'm not saying this is all recruiting. I think it was the command at the time too, that we were in, because after I fourth in the entire command as a first class, I didn't get an EP, and I'm like, what do you got to do? And literally the answer I got was time. Huh? Like,
yeah, they want the progression.
Which I also understand. Like you're saying, welcome aboard, P. Hey, it gives you want to grow, but it's like, well, yeah, but I'm at this standard, And I thought that was weird too for you. And I wasn't in a position, to an extent, to fight for you at that time. I wasn't a chief yet, so I wasn't involved in that. But yeah, I mean, you achieved things that I hadn't in the worst time in recruiting. I think like in recorded history. So, you know, it when you're achieving things like that, and I can openly say that during that time, you got to take something. Recruiting was so successful, especially in the area we were in, that even the leadership who had always been successful went from being successful to absolutely failing. I think that people didn't know how to react, how to manage it, and it became very miserable very quick. There was not, I mean, a lot of morale was gone just in general. And even when, like, the things that you achieved, right? It's like, yo, look what he did. Like, I've never done that, and I've been here X amount of years. And they're like, yeah, we need more, though. And you're still, like, I really felt like in that time frame, and again, my opinion, and you can agree with me if you want, I really don't, because I've cooled off. I'm gone from there too, and I still have great friends in recruiting and stuff like that. I honestly feel that on a recruiting standpoint during that time frame, recruiters, at least where we were, got treated like absolute garbage.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. Yeah, just because the demand was there, but there was no supply, pretty much.
Right.
And like,
And we were just treated like we
well,
were
literally,
lazy.
yeah, it was like it's not. Well, it's not like what's going on right now. It's you. It's what you're doing. It's like
Yeah.
you don't know what I'm doing. You don't know about the efforts and the things that we think of, and like me and you wanted to succeed. Like
Oh yeah.
it wasn't like
100%.
we came in like how can we slack off all day and just get by? Like that's not. We were like looking stuff up. We were making scripts. We would try to make it a competition. We would try to do things to like
We were reading sales books.
yeah,
Like we were
it
reading
wasn't
sales books. We were doing everything we could. We created an entire podcast to have a social media presence. Like, I mean, things that nobody else was doing. And what we would get told was, well, how many people have you put in because of that? Everything they wanted instant results, like squeeze a golf ball through a garden hose, and it
yeah,
wasn't. It hurt, man. It hurt, especially after being successful.
yeah,
And to then have you under me to lead you and see your mind, and I was like, man, I feel so bad because he would be such a good recruiter, and we worked really well together on things. To just be there was no pumping each other up. I mean, there were a few times that like you even made me leave the office. You're like, dude, like we got to go do something. It wasn't that I wasn't working. It was that I was so downtrodden. Like I didn't want to go anywhere. Like I'll just sit here and make calls all day, like because that's all they want. Like it was miserable.
and what I was getting at before, like, so I made second, right? And from that point, it's like, what? It took me a while to realize it, but I'm like, what else am I going to gain from recruiting at this point? Because, like, I know I don't want to be a full time recruiter. I don't want to convert. Is there an avenue for me to make first, but in the 3 years that I'm here? No, because I just made second and I got a P. And I know I'm not going to get an EP because they're talking about progression. And like,
Yeah,
to
you
be
wouldn't
honest,
be you wouldn't be eligible by the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have been eligible, and I was like, what am I doing here? Because like, this is not gonna help progress me as an electrician's mate anymore.
And I think it was one
So
of those things with that too. I mean, you can earn award, like earn NAMs.
yeah,
Technically,
well,
it used to be you could earn. I mean, if you're there 36 months, you can earn 36 NAMs. You have an opportunity to earn. You can earn one every month. But then it got ridiculous to the point where like this is impossible.
yeah,
So I mean that helps when you go to take a test. And when you were talking about like on the ship, right? like pride in the gear, pride in your work. I think that you and I did, and I think you could talk to any of our future sailors and their parents who literally come on the show and still comment because we took pride in what we did and cared for them. And I can tell you that I won't say who or anything about anybody in specifically.
I actually cared about the future of these people. Like, and honestly, since we were talking about the small boys so much, I feel bad because like my idea of the ship life was a carrier. I couldn't really tell them like that what the small boys like. So there's some things I talked
It
about that
was
just
it was good when we were both there because we had
yeah.
like you had engineering side and carrier life. I had small boy and like more combat systems top side. Like we had both views. You know what I'm saying? So and then somebody'd come in and be like, I want to be a nuke on the sub, and we're like, that's cool.
Yeah, like, talk to Griffin.
Yeah, don't yeah. It's Seek.
That's
I could tell you about it, but I'd have to kill you.
yeah. But I don't know. I would say overall, like it was not a good experience, and I think you know that. It just it was. I felt like I was working uphill the entire time I was there, and like after a while, I just continuously working uphill. You just kind of like are like, all right, well, I don't know how much more I can give. Like this is really hard. This is really difficult,
And they
and like
call it arduous duty because like like we would work on the weekends. I mean, you'd have kids that are leaving on Monday, so you have to take them down on Sundays, or you gotta take care of something on a Saturday or do kit work, or you have to work late because they had practice, you know. And it used to be, all right, well, I'm working late, so I'm not gonna come in till like noon. Well, it got to the point that like, no, that's not happening, you know.
yeah,
And it was, I mean, the last couple years of recruiting, you know, and we did what we could to enjoy some personal time because that's when you're on shore duty, that's your time to enjoy home stuff like that. But it became so demanding. I mean, even after you left and before I left, I was working the most I had ever worked hour wise in a long time. Like I'd be in before 9 when it was supposed to open, and there were days, and you could ask my wife, where I didn't come home till 10, and then what would I get told? Well, that's your fault. Okay, all right,
yeah.
all right. You know, and I think the problem, like you said, it was not a great experience for you. You had great times. Like we had, I think we had a lot of fun, and we got to do some cool stuff that we enjoyed. I think it was the time that you came in. Like I was pumped to teach you. I was pumped to like have somebody to work with. And then COVID happened, and like it was awesome.
I was like, hey, so what's happening? And you're like, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
All this stuff that I had planned, I mean, it's just getting kind of thrown out the window.
we can't do it
I remember
anymore.
we went around with what did we
We
have like
drove.
toilet paper or something like that?
We
Like,
drove. We went around.
oh, you
We got in the
get
car
toilet.
so we didn't have to make phone calls all day because at the time they told us we had to make 200 calls a day. And we got in our uniforms, got in the car, and our area was huge. Everything was spread out, and we're like, all right, we're gonna drive. And we had made up posters, flyers, all kinds of stuff. We're gonna stop at every open business and try to go in and just like, you know, presence of the Navy type thing and hang stuff. And it was during like when they were saying there's a toilet paper shortage, so we had made like some little stupid video because like we went to, I think it was like Dollar General, and they had like toilet paper, and they literally had a sign where there was a limit on how much toilet paper you could buy. So we're like in the car like with the golden paper, you know, like just to
How
do something
random
different.
was that too? How random was it that like there's just this big toilet paper shortage? Like I get it, everyone's home, but it's like everyone going to the bathroom that much.
I guess I don't even
Like,
remember. There was something about why, but I never like looked into it because I'm just like, okay, like I don't know. So it was rough, and we had two different experiences because there was a time where I was trying to, obviously I extended twice, and I was trying to convert. And I remember you looked at me and you said, why would anyone want to continue doing this? Like, but I was in it
Unless
before.
you're, I've seen that um, Petty Officer Miller. He had back to back to back Recruiter of the Year.
Yeah.
He's gonna convert because
I
I think he wasn't gonna, but
I still don't think he's going to, and I'm not. Hey, I'm not discounting on him and the work that he did. But large city, one station, and he was the only recruiter.
yeah, I mean that does
Sweet.
help. But back to back to back is pretty crazy. To even see that, I'm like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's awesome. I'm not, like I said,
I just wonder what it would have been like to be in a different station. As much as like I kind
yeah.
of like Muncie, like I kind of like the idea that it was like rural and like I didn't have to deal with like too much like city stuff like that. Like that was kind of nice.
And like, I mean, we still got some random walk-ins here and there. There's just it's like talking about the difference between a carrier and a cruiser or a destroyer, right? Like being in a small station, you had less heads to butt with. You know what I mean? Like, but also like almost like less support or less. I don't know. There were pros and cons.
Absolutely no sense of community in recruiting whatsoever.
No, I don't care what anybody
Like,
says.
not like nothing. Like it was me versus everyone else. Like that's how
Yep.
it felt. Me versus that station. Me versus, and they're in our same district. We're all working towards a goal for the TAOC or whatever.
Even people in our own because you have that, and then you have divisions. Even people in our own division, like it was just like screw them. Like it was
it's
bad.
like it's just stupid because like it's actually a good thing if they were doing something because like it helped the division like and that's but we never could see it that way because like if we're not getting ours then we don't want anyone to like if we're gonna fail like this is how it felt if our station was gonna fail then we wanted everyone else to fail like I don't want to see
especially when we worked hard like when we're working hard I would almost agree with that. I'm not saying that we wanted people to avidly fail because we didn't like them, but it was like we would 100% bust our hump and we're going to fail from doing, I mean, as much as we possibly could. And then we knew that if not everybody failed, what was going to happen was they were going to say, you are a piece of crap.
Yeah. We are the reason why.
And we couldn't say everybody was failing.
Could there be a little bit of truth in that in a way? Like
maybe
that's the thing about recruiting is like it was so hard because you get upset about the outside factors, but then like sometimes you have to be like honest with yourself in a way. Like, did I do everything I needed to do today? And like but the only but is that would mean that every single day I would need to not make any time for me to do anything on my own during the day. Like it would be my whole mind for 8 hours straight is recruiting. And when I go home, I also have to pay attention to my work phone. Just like little things. I can literally hear the kids like right there by the door.
You gotta think too, right? I did it for 5 years, having two phones. After I left recruiting, I will tell you that there have been times where like I'm not thinking, and I'll be like, "Where's my other phone?" Like it's literally happened. But there was a saying that with recruiting duty, you get out of it what you put into it. Used to be. I really do believe that, and I hope it gets back to that. And it may be like that. We're only going off of our experience, one recruiting tour where we were, because during that time, dude, we put in a lot.
Yeah, we don't want to come off as like sour pusses or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
nah, like, but it was bad. Like,
it was bad.
I hear about
And it
some
was
people
hard.
who are on the shit that were from recruiting, and like, it didn't matter where they were at. It was bad. So if it was bad for them in San Diego, then Lord knows it had to have been really bad over here. And maybe we just didn't even know,
I
like,
think
how
the
bad
one
it
the one
was.
thing you had said, which would really aggravate me, when people be like, "Well, why are you failing?" And you'd be like, the COVID mandates, and we literally can't go anywhere, and we're a rural area, so kids don't. It's not like we can go to a mall or whatever. It's not COVID. It's you. You can't use COVID as an excuse. What?
The malls here, like, there's always people there, always. Like, it's like,
But the
oh,
Muncie Mall, when we went in there a few times, even when it wasn't in the heat of COVID,
like, I don't know what they're. You guys have been going to the mall. You know what? Come to our mall. Come see what's going on.
you go walk around the university. Okay,
I remember we would bring.
come do it with us.
They would bring them out, and they'd be like, "Man, this place is dead." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, this is our most populated area."
Yeah, these
Once
are
you
our
come out to Winchester
these are our
and see what
hot
that's
zip codes.
like. Yeah, come out to Portland. I bet there's tons going on over there.
Tons. If the tractor convention's in town, baby.
Yeah.
But
But yeah,
you know,
I ended up leaving early, which everyone, I think people know that now. But
which that's
it
like
is.
that was a whole thing too.
It was like a combo of me not being able to make first while I'm there, and just like my mental state being there. Like, this is not good for me, and it was lucrative. I got paid money. to
Yeah,
leave.
yeah.
So,
Well, and you would have got paid more if it would have pushed through the way it was
earlier.
supposed to, if you would have actually left early instead of it only being a couple months early.
I was trying to leave a lot earlier.
Yeah, it was a whole other thing with that.
They were sitting on a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
that sucked.
I mean,
But
there wasn't enough time in the day for a lot of stuff. Like you said, did I do everything today that I could have? Yeah, I mean, everybody has off days, but I mean,
yeah,
how much can you really do? And like when I was doing just the onboarding, right? And at the point where I had 3 different stations, and at the height, or even before that, like the January before you came in, just out of Anderson alone, there were 22. I think 22 future sailors, but at the height of when I had 3 different stations and had at one point like almost 50 future sailors, and they have to check in once a week, and I'm just you have to log everything and what the whole conversation was about, and I got told more than once, like, you should talk to them no less than 15 or 20 minutes. Do the math. Like, it's not possible. It's not even possible. Can't be done. Yeah. But it just, like, things would just get said, and like nobody, I really feel, and I think, in my opinion, that this is a problem I see in the Navy a lot. Nobody is willing to say anything because nothing will change. You hear that all the time, right? I don't want to say anything because it's not going to change anything. No, that's going to keep it the same. But then you get one person that's willing to say something, but since they're the only person that says something, they are a problem. So, did I get a little bit of a bad reputation at the recruiting command? Maybe. Because
you're speaking for everyone.
I would, but nobody else would say anything. They all agreed with it.
Yeah.
But they're too scared to say anything.
Easton, Emma. Yeah, they're probably going to want to say hi to you. Hold on.
Let's
make them have an appearance on the show. Easton and Emma.
So again, we're on episode number 6 of Behind the Helm. We're recording this on Sunday. You're watching it on Thursday. We're here with Petty Officer Levesque. We've talked about a lot of things, and we're just talking about recruiting. And I see somebody that I know. And here are Petty Officer Levesque's kids. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
Hey, go ahead, say hello.
Hi.
Hi. Who are you? What's your name? Emma. I know your name. How are you? How are you doing?
Here, we'll all sit together on the
Doing
chair.
doing good. And there's Easton. Easton. What's up,
Hey,
buddy?
look out.
My name is
Your name's Easton.
Emma. I don't know if they've ever. I don't think they've been on the show.
No, I had Logan on after you had left a couple times, but they never have. However, when we had the whole table set up, we had some stuff from them. I think let me look real quick. Hold on, because my office is a little set up differently, but let me take a look here.
Let's see what he's got.
I still have everything. I just can't put it all out, but I know this was one of our
Yep.
homages to the Eagle this was from Emma.
That was from Emma. Yep.
That was from Emma right there. The Mario Kart. I don't know if you remember that, but it's set there. I still have everything. It's just in a drawer behind me.
I see. She remembers.
So yeah, Emma, let me ask you a question. I have to ask you a question before we finish up. What have you got to go see Daddy's ship? What
Emma. Yes. Have you been able to see Daddy's ship?
Yes.
What do you think about Daddy's ship?
Ooh.
Are you being shy? What about you, Easton? What do you think of Daddy's ship?
I think Easton could give a better.
Oh no! It's paused.
I know.
Why is it paused?
No.
It was me. Hi, Dad.
All right. Are we back now?
Yeah, you're still there. It got a little.
Easton, you tell Brad about the ship.
Easton, can you tell me about the ship?
Yes.
What do you think?
Go ahead.
What's your favorite part of the ship, Easton?
Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum? What?
Jason Tatum. Where's Grandpa? Yeah, we're Grandpa.
All right. Here, why don't you- they
Well,
love the ship. They go every time I have duty. They usually come.
My
on board.
favorite part is Jason Tatum. Yeah.
All right. Why don't you guys say bye?
Bye.
it was good to see you guys. Bye. I'll give you your dad back in just a minute.
Okay. Go ahead. Go. I'll be out in 1 second. Okay.
I'm gonna get the glasses.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Say
Good
bye.
to see you, Emma. Bye, Easton. Yeah. So those are payoffs for the Vex kids. What was he saying? His favorite part, Jason Tatum?
Some of Jason Tatum, the basketball player for the Celtics. I don't know why he said that.
Why is that his favorite part of the ship?
I don't know. He's just being silly. Like that's what they did.
I was going to say, man, did he come to the ship and you didn't tell us about it?
Yeah, that'd be crazy if Tatum came to the ship.
Yeah, so I think to wrap up just on the recruiting thing, right? I really hope that it gets to a better place. And
Yeah.
I think because of how bad it was and people coming back to see, they also had a shortage, me and you talked about it, of recruiters because people heard how bad it was. And it used to always be you had to volunteer. They could not force you to go recruiting. It was volunteer only. And in fact, you had to pass a screening to even go recruiting. And then it was like nobody wanted to go recruiting. So then we got short-manned. Then we didn't have enough people either. And I think they still didn't when I was leaving. So, and I think the other downside that I noticed the whole time I was there, and I'll get your take on this, was you have ones that have converted, okay, NCRs, they're lifetime recruiters, and then fleet sailors, or what we call fleet sailors, so an EM, an FCA, people who aren't converted, like they're just there on a shore duty to recruit. And I always felt that fleet sailors got treated differently than the career recruiters. The career recruiters got more attention. and I thought it would change when I became a chief. And quite honestly, from the outside looking in, as somebody who's not a chief, because you said this to me, because I was a fleet sailor, it didn't even matter that it didn't seem to matter that I was a chief, and I would get talked to the same way as second classes in front of other people, and it was very irritating.
Yeah, 'cause this is like, I feel like that's not how it is. It's like the Chiefs mess on the ship. It's like they don't talk to each other like that. Like they
Especially
all
not
have
in
each
front of
other,
people.
especially in front of people. Like they may have like sidebar conversations, like, "Hey, dude, like you're effing up right now," or like little things like that that they have in the Chiefs mess. You know, they don't do that in front of the sailors because that's like the last thing you want to see is a chief getting reprimanded or being talked to the same way that I would get talked to. It's like,
But I
it's
will
just
say
not.
recruiting is unique in the fact that you can be a chief there that is just, let's say, like on a ship, like as a technician, right? Like they're not leading. Okay, you are in that. You are in what I would consider the bottom role. You're,
If you were writing on an eval,
yeah,
right, what would you put as your primary role?
right, a canvasser recruiter,
That's what you would write, and that's what I would write.
right?
So
Same
yes,
same job.
that's what they, like exact same job. So
You know,
oh,
so I would tell anybody, look, I think that recruiting, I would hope that it's gotten better. I would hope that it's getting better as things are changing in the world, but I think being a fleet sailor, you're not going to have a lot of leadership opportunity, and you're going to kind of fight an uphill battle, but it takes, I think it takes a different type, that 100%, not everybody, I don't want to say this and it sound really bad, but like the Navy can teach anybody to be an EM, not to be a good EM, but they can teach anybody to be an EM. They can teach anybody to be an FCA. It doesn't mean that you'll be good, but it's possible. The Navy can't teach you, I don't care what anybody says, the Navy can't teach you to be a recruiter.
yeah, you just kind of have that in you in a way. Like there's some people who are good, and some people who just aren't good. And it's not on them. It's just like
It's
you
just not
didn't,
what they're for. Yeah.
you didn't join to like put other people in. You know, you joined and you learned a skill, and that's what you're good at. Like to say that you can go and learn like some of these skills at school for like a month and a half, and then just like come out of that and be able to like. Some people make it in sales, like, and if they don't make it, they get fired. Like in any job, like if you were working at a car dealership and you couldn't sell, are they just gonna keep you around? No. But here they gotta keep you around because like there's not enough people. So like
I think you just said it too. Like we were reading sales books and stuff like that, and like what doesn't, at least I felt that it didn't get taught, is the fact that it is literally a sales job. You're not making commission, but it's like a commission sales job, because each month is a different goal, and it doesn't matter what you did last month. What are you doing this month? And they don't teach it that way. It's a job. It's a Navy job. No, it's a sales job. Like you just said, it's, are you good at that or not? Hey, I can get a job at a car lot. Am I a good car salesman or not? If I'm not going to have a job there anymore. I'm not meant to be in sales, right?
yeah,
And when we say sales, I mean active sales. I don't mean, well, I worked at Walmart and checked people out. That's not sales. That's retail. It's completely different. And I feel like I was taught as the Navy how to sell the Navy retail. That's not, it's not possible. It's like you have to treat it like a commission sales job. And if you think that you can come in and it's a retail walk in, walk out shop, no. it's hard. It is hard. It can be rewarding, and it's just interesting when we talk about it because you literally came into recruiting and left recruiting all in the time frame of the worst time in recruiting in national like history. So we tend to have different views, and we would when we talk about it like in the office, you'd be like, you would say things to me like this doesn't make any sense, this, and I'm like, I know it's not always like that, but that's all you know.
Yeah.
So to close out, man, I just want to, wrap this up. Kind of a long interview, but look, you haven't been here in a while. I know you got some things to do, and I got a Bears game to watch here soon, but I want to really thank you for coming back on the show. Just for everybody out there, we've stayed in touch the best that we can. That's how I knew about the golf thing and this and that. But, I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you making the time. I'm glad we were finally able to, like, make it work. And I look forward to hearing about your deployment and your golf exploits while you're out there.
Are you being Rhoda when I get back? You won't be in Rhoda yet. Right?
I don't know. I don't. Yep, that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But we'll see. So, all right, man. Well, I appreciate it, and have a good one. And shoot me a text later, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right, will do.
All right. See you later.
See ya.
All right. So again, that was Petty Officer Levesque. Thank you guys so much for tuning into episode 6. Like I said, it is pre-recorded, but you're watching it on Thursday, and I just wanted the opportunity to get Petty Officer Levesque back on. Still feel free to comment, smash that like button, share this feed. If you're one of our audio listeners, you're used to this, right? Because this is what you get anyway. So appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. I will be back next week with it will be a live show next week, and we'll get back into the season 2 aspect of things, and I'll tell you about finishing up with the claims and how that worked out, and we'll keep moving forward. So until next time, guys, thank you so very much. Have a good one.